want some of the butter chicken. So thank you.
Good evening, folks. It's Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. Happy Friday. Today, the weekly wrap-up.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
Good evening, folks. Happy Friday. It's Freddie Vasquez. Politics Unfiltered. Tonight, the weekly news and politics wrap-up. Also, where has Councilman John Rubo been? Anybody seen the guy? Good evening, folks. Oh. How you doing, folks? I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. We're going to talk about a few things. Friday, I think, right? Get all confused. Happy Friday, TGIF. First, I want to talk about John Rubo. A little bit. Where has John Rubo been? We haven't heard much about John Rubo. It's been very quiet, right? We've been talking about other individuals. I know he didn't have a race this election, but he's been fairly quiet. I haven't really seen him a whole lot or heard from Mr. Rubo. Really quick, I want to talk about 6 individuals that were indicted. And I just want to warn people, especially if you have, elderly people, if you have elderly relatives, loved ones, be careful. Scams are on the rise. 6 indicted in $2 million loan fraud involving stolen property deeds in New Rochelle and Yonkers. A New Rochelle couple and 4 other individuals and a corporation were indicted for defrauding distressed homeowners by stealing the property deeds to Westchester homes and fraudulently obtaining $2 million in loans. The defendants, including licensed realtors and an attorney, so these individuals you would trust, or at least give a little trust to, were also charged with evading a combined total of nearly $200,000 in state taxes. As alleged in the indictments, the defendants targeted 3 residential properties facing bankruptcy or foreclosure, 2 in New Rochelle and 1 in Yonkers, valued in total at nearly $2.5 million. Owners for the 2 properties believed they were receiving mortgage assistance when they signed over to the defendants the deeds to their homes at closing. So this is, be careful. This is actually not new. The third party property, which was in bankruptcy proceedings, was acquired in a short sale, and 2 of the defendants allegedly moved in and occupied that home as their primary residence. The defendants were charged with forging financial statements and filing false tax documents to obtain $1.5 million in short-term fix and flip loans for the properties. So be careful, folks. A lot of scamming going on. Also, there's a Con Ed scam that almost got my wife. They called up my office and said that we owed $1,500 in our electric bill, and then they were going to come cut the power off right away. And I said, what? And they wanted cash, which we should have right away raised red flags, but I just didn't want the power to be shut off. So I was scrambling. I was like, okay, I got to go run to the bank now to go get cash. And then I had to go over to Mount Vernon to pay for it. And then in that whole process, I stopped to think. I said, wait a minute. What do you mean we owe $15? I mean, we've been paying our electric bill. And sure enough, my wife went on and checked the account. It was bogus. I tried calling the number back. I couldn't get anyone. So be careful with these, scams. People are just nasty. Yonkers Public Schools. We're getting a new superintendent, right, guys? It's a new, if it's too good to be true, it usually is. Absolutely. Absolutely. That's definitely true. Superintendent Dr. Edwin Quesada, as you know, retired early and decided to get another job. He retired from the Yonkers Public School. He didn't retire from working, but he will be leaving at the end of this month. Initially, it was supposed to be on July 1st, but he will stay on as the interim until July 30th. The city of Yonkers has hired a consulting firm to help search for the next superintendent here in the city of Yonkers. So if you are someone that's interested or you know someone, Tell them to apply. Yonkers Public Schools search for a superintendent is still in its beginning stages, and an interim superintendent may need to be appointed for the upcoming school year. Now, this is not unusual. This is actually happening in the place where we have property and stuff out of state. They're looking for a superintendent. In the meantime, they have an interim because they don't want to just pick anyone, right? It's a real complex process, and they want to be very detailed, right? We want a comprehensive snapshot of what the city and the city in general would want to look for in a superintendent, said Reverend Steve Lopez, the school board president. After Quesada announced his impending retirement in April, the Board of Education began its own search for a successor to join the district on July 1st. But the board later decided to hire an outside firm to lead a thorough and transparent process, Lopez said. No candidates have yet been interviewed. Hazard Young, Atia, and Associates plans to set up public meetings where community members can share what they're looking for in a superintendent. I think that's, I guess, a good idea, right? I'm sure they're going to get a bunch of different things, right? But, it's a good idea. It's a great way to involve the community. An electronic survey will be set up for the same purpose. We really want everybody to be included in the process, Lopez said. I like that. Reverend Lopez. Lopez said if the process isn't finished by mid-July, the board will look at appointing an interim superintendent, most likely someone not interested in the permanent position. Well, I'll take that, Reverend Lopez. I'm available. Just let me know. Applications submitted before the search firm was hired will be forwarded to the firm. I want to make it clear we're not looking to replace Dr. Quesada, Lopez said, but rather, he said, the district is looking for someone to build on the progress the district has already made or has made. So there you go, for parents or anyone interested in what's going on with the superintendent's position for the upcoming school year. It looks like they will have an interim superintendent in the meantime. And, for a long time, I thought it was going to be Nader, right? I thought that was kind of a deal he was making. He was on the school board before. He's an educator, right? So I was on the, I was assuming or guessing that it might be Nader, but Nader is, he's in the 70s already. You don't want to get someone that's, already that old, that's, may not have the longevity that, a younger individual may have. We also have to take into account the makeup of our school district. It's 63% Hispanic, right? So, we want to be able to have someone maybe that resembles that. I'm just saying. And I don't want to make it about race or specifically look for a Hispanic. But ideally, if we can find the right qualified candidate, right, not to replace Dr. Quesada, but to build on the progress, and that individual is Hispanic, that would be ideal, right? That would be ideal. You have a lot of Spanish-speaking individuals that live here in the city of Yonkers, and we're getting bus loads more, but not just Spanish speaking. They're speaking all kinds of language from Africa and the Middle East as well, and Mandarin Chinese, okay? And Yonkers, we're growing in our Asian population, and that's what's up. And they're acclimating very well. I saw some young girls with very colorful braids on, right, in the Southwest side, and you see a lot of braids on the Southwest side, just not usually Asian Americans. Thorough and transparent doesn't exist in Yonkers. Yeah, many people will agree with you there. Bunch of BS. How much is this costing taxpayers? And are you referring to the consulting firm? Maybe it's BS, but this is not unheard of. Again, I know another school district that's currently outside of the state of New York that's looking for a superintendent as well. They have also hired a consulting company, which I think is good because this is what they do, right? And this is a very important position. And so, you would hope that they're also unbiased, they're independent, and that they're going to find the most qualified person, right? And so that's the goal, I guess, with the independent consulting firm. Honestly, Nader would be a great pick. No, he wouldn't. No, he wouldn't. No diss to Nader, but Nader is already in his 70s, right? Nader's in his 70s. You want somebody that's going to, we don't want to go through this process again in another 5 years. So I think Nader is perfect for retirement at this point. Nader, enjoy your life. I mean, you don't need to make any more money, I'm sure. You've done a lot. Thank you very much. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your family. 70 is not old. No, It's not old, but it's old. You know what I mean? It's not old, but it's old. You know, there are a lot of great talent in Yonkers, and so get to applying. If you are someone who believes you're a talented person, you are qualified for the position, and you're from Yonkers, make sure you submit your resume, right? And all you principals in the Yonkers public schools, you know, that's the next, you know, well, maybe assistant superintendent, then superintendent, but hey, shoot for the stars. Why not? I even told my this is how funny. Right? This is funny. I said, Andre, you should apply. Told my wife to apply. Yeah, that's funny. That'd be funny. You know, you never know, man. We have doctors, lawyers, engineers practicing late 80s. No doubt. But I mean, you know, again, you know, and then they can retire, right? If they're a doctor, they're a lawyer, they can retire. It doesn't have a huge impact, whereas a superintendent retiring after a short amount of time has a bigger impact on more people, right? On the school district wide, on the city, right? Versus a lawyer, a doctor, you know, who's practicing, you know, in their private practice or even at a hospital, right? I mean, you know, some patient's going to have to look for a new doctor. But I think that you want to find someone that's going to be, you know, energetic, younger. I would like to see Hispanic because of its 63% Hispanic population in the student body. But that's not the only reason. I mean, they have to be qualified. They have to be, you know, just as good as anyone else, right? And then the Hispanic part is what pushes them over the edge, right? It's not like, okay, you know, they're qualified, they're not as qualified, but they're Hispanic and they're going to get it. No, that's not what I mean, right? So I want to be very clear, but I'm just saying it would be good for the makeup. Qualified candidate that is willing to come to Yonkers, need competition for the position. Municipalities and corporations use search firms all the time to source the most qualified candidates, right? Yeah, they do. They hire consulting and search firms all the time. That's not something that's unusual, and I don't think that that's necessarily a waste of money. You know, but what is a waste of money, right, is what we talked about yesterday in terms of the Mike Cater investigation. Maybe no more money is being wasted, right? Maybe they stop spending money. Here's more money or time, I don't know, being wasted. Mike Breen, the race in District 5, city council race goes to hand recount after contentious campaign. An unexpected primary challenge for the Yonkers City Council District 5 race faces a mandatory hand recount after only 13 votes separate the candidates. Three-term Republican City Council member Mike Breen launched his re-election campaign to represent the 5th district after voting to extend his own term limits in November 2022. Many in the city challenged this extension with a lawsuit and petitioned for a voter referendum, and I'll talk about some money being wasted with the voter referendum. And one constituent, Breen's, Ron Chute, decided to run for office for the first time in protest. But maybe that's why you didn't win. You can't run in protest. You have to run to win. The surprise of Chute's entrance in the race was compounded by the expectation that Ron Matten would be the challenger, and he was. I mean, Ron Matten was the challenger. He just couldn't actually win, but he was challenging Mike Breen nonetheless. Matten stood back despite winning a redistricting battle that almost excised him from the district altogether. That means to remove him. However, he still became a volatile element in this race as Breen's most vocal critic, both online and on the street, with his Breen machine. The 4 primary races in Yonkers on Tuesday, June 27th, saw 2 undisputed landslides and 2 races that were initially too close to call. While the 1st District City Council race appears headed to certification with a 25-vote margin of victory, only 13 votes separate Breen and Chute. This is a 2% margin in the 1,181 vote race. By New York state law, this sub-20 vote difference triggers a mandatory recount. So it's a mandatory recount. The recount will occur next week, led by the Westchester Board of Elections. Oh, yeah, under strict rules. Each ballot will be reviewed by a panel of election workers. And who hired these election workers? Can we find that out? That's important. Under the supervision of both the Republican and Democratic commissioners. Yeah. Aren't they colleagues? Oh, no, they're separate. That's right. It's 2 different parties. I get confused. Each campaign is invited to send an observer to monitor this process. Can I come? Objections may be raised and disputes are settled by the commissioners. One such dispute may be deciding the winner of an overvote. Overvotes occur when there are multiple markings on a ballot. It is the duty of the panel to determine the voter's intent, as the machine scanner cannot. Depending on how many objections are raised, the recount process for these roughly 1,100 votes should be complete within a single day. The completion of this manual recount then allows for final certification of the election results. This is not a good sign for you, Breen. This is really not a good sign for you, Breen, and it's quite embarrassing, I bet. And that's probably why you held a private party the night of the primaries, just in case you lost. You would be among your closest friends and family to have there to console you. The incumbent candidate, Mike Breen, is sure that his 13-vote lead provides enough cushion to weather a recount. In response to our request, he stated, "I'm confident that I have won the Republican primary for the 5th Council District. I'm excited to have the opportunity to continue the work I have committed to over my time in office, which does not include sitting there asleep. I promise you, it does not." However, challenger Ron Chute expressed concerns over absentee ballots, which comprise part of Breen's lead. I'm sure they do. I'm sure. Of course. And if you don't know why or what I'm talking about or what's being referred to there, it's this whole absentee ballot thing, right? It's a hustle. It's what they do. However, challenger Ron Chute expressed concerns over absentee ballots, which comprise part of Breen's lead. Although the election audit process appears to be quite comprehensive, the new absentee ballot process, where signatures are not validated and envelopes are separated from the ballots, leaves room for suspicion, said Chute. Why do you think they wanted to allow these absentee ballots and these, rules that they were doing to say, oh, we want to make it easier for people to vote? No, they want to make it easier to cheat elections, to commit election fraud. I mean, I don't understand why in 2023 we still can't get this right. While a 13-vote difference is minuscule, hand recounts rarely sway the result of any election. But regardless of the winner, the margin alone should remind all 5,800 GOP registered voters in the 5th district to not sit out any election. So there you go. Out of 5,800, you had just over 1,100 come out to vote. That's a problem. That's what I've been preaching. And those who want change, who have been more vocal about it, you guys have to not just be vocal about it, right? But you have to go out there and knock on doors. You have to wake people up. You have to make phone calls. You have to act as a machine that is trying to win an election. And it's voluntary because you're not going to get paid for it. But that's the work you must put in. Otherwise, it's going to be what it's going to be. So, folks, I mean, listen, I can go on. I can go on about these 13 votes. I can make comparisons to elections where the margins were similar and come up with all kinds of, well, not all really, just one, right? One theory as to how this happened, especially as you heard Ron mention there, you heard me read Ron Chute mentioning that the absentee ballots comprise part of his lead, right? They're giving him some of those absentee ballots are worth giving him the lead. So are those legitimate absentee ballots? Were those absentee ballots that maybe the Breen team was hoarding? We know ballot harvesting is a very real thing. So you guys can, come up with your own determination. Let's keep our eyes and ears open as Rubio is supposed to leave office in September. Too late for a special election, so whoever is appointed will be there until November 2024. Janai or Justin Take your pick. Either way, a rubber stamp. Yeah, Janai Wallace has really been, working hard to get herself somewhere, and she's getting close. Rubo, it didn't work out for Rubo. I know you're very disappointed, John, and that's why you're laying low. So where has John Rubo been? Look at this guy. He was on the Yonkers power list. I mean, should be honored. In 2019, John Rubo is the co-founder of Yonkers Brewing Company and responsible for overseeing day-to-day operation. He also spends a great deal of time focusing on optimizing wholesale production and sales of Yonkers brand in the regional market, including Hudson Valley in New York City and Long Island. I'm not going to read this poorly written piece here. But John Rubo became a councilman for the 4th District in 2017. He was a Republican then. Let's not forget. He was a Republican. But then he switched. He became a Democrat. I found something interesting on John Rubo. But let's first look at this. Today, I attended the March for Justice in Yonkers. I joined my fellow Yonkers residents to let them know that I hear their voices. And this is in regards to George Floyd. But John, you have not mentioned young people that have been killed here in the city. Where's your post for C.J. Hackett, who was killed by a drunk driver in your district? You don't know George Floyd, but I'm sure you know the Hackett family. They live in your district, or they're from your district. The boy was hit by a drunk driver in your district. No post, no word, nothing, John. You were vocal then. You were also vocal when a Yonkers bar employee was shot dead in early morning dispute. Councilman John Rubo says police have responded to many complaints at Duo. He's calling on the mayor and police commissioner to shut the place down. And that's exactly what happened to the Hispanic-owned business. Was that to have less competition for his own bar? In which he received a lot of PPP money, yet was sued by former employees for not paying wages. Did John Rubo and the Yonkers Brewing Company commit PPP fraud? He took out PPP loans and then failed to pay his employees, according to court records. Well, he settled out of court, but when you receive PPP money, that was to keep your employees, to make sure that you can cover your payroll. So why did he get sued by his employees? For lack of payment. But John Rubo is a guy that says one thing and does another. He's been doing this on many, many issues. And when you operate in that manner, John, it's not going to last long. You were headed to the mayor's position, and then you dropped down to deputy, and then you dropped out of sight. The fight to pass the Yonkers Affordable Housing Ordinance. The obstacle, John Rubo. Community Voices Heard is dedicated to finding solutions to Westchester County's affordable housing crisis. As part of this commitment, Yonkers Community Voices Heard members have been organizing and working to pass an affordable housing ordinance for the last 3 years, and this is 2021. However, the Yonkers City Council's failure to commit to an ordinance informed by the Yonkers residents' average income and to set aside a reasonable percentage of units for affordable housing that helps to mitigate the housing crisis has made the process lengthy and tedious. Meanwhile, low-income residents are suffering the consequences. They are being priced out of their communities, forced to relocate, or live in inhumane conditions because they can no longer afford the city. John Rubo's on the real estate committee. He's the chairperson of the real estate committee, a position he's held for quite some time. His landlord, AMS, one of the biggest developers here in the city of Yonkers. One of the biggest, if not the biggest, developer of luxury rentals here in the city of Yonkers. The ones that are pricing people out of the southwest side and northwest, west side, where he has his Yonkers Brewing Company, his business, his bar. So he was happy to close down another bar. Maybe he can get the building and open up another spot. CVH is dedicated to finding solutions to Westchester County's affordable housing crisis. We are in a housing crisis. I'm going to skip down here. Our members have been meeting with the city council members to discuss the ordinance and persuade them to vote for at least a 20% set aside for affordable housing. John Rubo was against 20%. I mean, in fact, he was against any increase. And he kept saying that the developers would not come if we raise it to 20%, adding an additional 10%. They just won't build here. That's jobs that residents will not get, which they never got. When we met with the council, with Councilman Rubo, he acknowledged Yonkers' current affordable housing crisis and pledged to address it. Throughout the meeting, he insisted that the only way to solve the problem was to go big or go home. And we've heard John say that many, many, many times. One of his signature lines, you know, along with robust. He promised our members, among other things, that he would write an open letter outlining his position on the ordinance, as well as the appropriate percentage set aside to truly go big or go home. He further said he would state his belief that the affordability of new housing developments should be based on the Yonkers average median income, or AMI, rather than the Westchester AMI. Additionally, he committed to working with local, state, and federal legislators and HUD to account for Yonkers AMI. Councilman Rubo did not complete any of these commitments and has broken every promise he made. CVH members attempted to contact him several times and through various channels, but we were unsuccessful. He hasn't responded to any of our emails or phone calls. And no housing ordinance has been passed. So we're still operating under the same housing ordinance that's been in place forever, 10%. All the while, the developments go up. But John Rubo, who changed his mind and voted yes on the 20% ordinance in 2021, which I knew was a game, then changed his mind and voted no to overwrite the mayor's veto, never had intentions and will never want to see a 20% housing ordinance as long as AMS is developing luxury rentals here in Yonkers. They do not want 20%. That will cost them money. And it's not about finding a sweet spot where we can raise the ordinance and still have developers come here and make a profit, because they're going to make a profit even at 20%. Greed is a very real thing. And they have not shown us any data, no numbers that indicate if we raise the housing ordinance to 20%, developers would not make money. Show us the data. I mean, it's not like they're using union labor. They're getting a lot of tax breaks, not just on the property, but also the sales and use. So anything that they're purchasing materials, John wants to make it sweeter for his landlord, who revised his lease once they purchased the trolley barn. Interesting. So I was reading, doing some research, and I came upon this. Anybody seen this before? I didn't see it. To just an hour ago. No, maybe 2 hours ago. In the matter of the complaint against campaign to elect John Rubo, whereas on or about May 26, 2021, the New York State Board of Elections Division of Election Law Enforcement, or DELI, received a complaint by email alleging that filer ID 8469, campaign to elect John Rubo, treasurer of record Robert DeFado, the filer ID 43211, candidate John Rubo, failed to file campaign financial disclosure statements with the New York State Board of Elections. Whereas on or about June 15, 2021, the DELI directed treasurer DeFado to submit the following campaign financial disclosure statements to the New York State Board of Elections. 2021, 32-day pre-primary report, 11-day pre-primary report, 2020 July periodic report, and the 2021 January periodic report. And whereas when the treasurer failed to do so on or about June 23, 2021, DELI directed candidate Rubo to submit the campaign financial disclosure statements. Thereafter, on or about August 12, 2021, the DELI directed candidate Rubo to submit the 2021 July periodic report, due on July 15, 2021. Thereafter, despite multiple demands, the campaign to elect John Rubo and candidate Rubo failed to timely file the 5 campaign financial disclosure statements with 3 or more such reports in one election cycle. Whereas the Chief Enforcement Counsel investigated the conduct of candidate Rubo, his political committee, and treasurer DeFado about the timeliness of filing the campaign finance disclosure statements required to be filed with the New York State Board of Elections, the CEC determined that there was an evidentiary basis for potential legal claims against John Rubo as the candidate and Robert DeFado, if I'm saying that right, as treasurer of campaign to elect John Rubo for violations of New York State election law 14-102, 104, and 126. Whereas the CEC commenced a hearing officer proceeding on or about March 7, 2022, with the assignment of Richard G. Koss as the hearing officer. At issue were 5 missing statements with 3 or more in one election cycle. A total maximum penalty, $15,000. Candidate Rubo was served by certified mail on or about March 21st, 2022. Service on treasurer DeFado was completed pursuant to CPLR 308-4 on or about April 21st, 2022. Following stipulations to extend the respondent's time to answer, the reporting was brought up to date on or about June 1st, 2022. Whereas the hearing officer proceedings was concluded on July 12th, 2022 by a settlement agreement fully executed by all parties. The matter was settled before the hearing, but after the commencement of the proceeding, with the timely payment of an agreed upon penalty of $5,500 by the respondent. And now, therefore, based on the foregoing, this matter is closed without further enforcement action. So John Rubo was penalized $5,500 for not submitting his campaign finance disclosures, right? And what is he hiding? Why is he not submitting them in time? Was he trying to hide the fact that he paid $10,000 to a handwriting expert against Carlos Burgos to challenge his petitions? You know, the masseuse that hired Harris Beach, the freelance masseuse that once worked for Rubo, that now works for the city of Yonkers. That's right. He works for the city of Yonkers. How you doing, freelance masseuse? Are you giving DPW guys massages after they finish their routes? Is that what you're doing? You know who else got a job with not DPW, but the city of Yonkers? Reggie Lafayette's son. Interesting. Did he get that job because he was creating this story about Ruth Walter? I don't know. Carolyn Elizabeth Marie, the state will have to change that. It's a great idea. It's Shelley. I've tried for years, but maybe she will be open to it now. I don't know if you guys having a conversation. Investigations continue to be targeted against those that oppose the administration's agenda and to maintain the status quo. Appointments, promotions go to all the yes men and women. That's right. Who don't truly represent the voters, but are in it for self-enrichment and are nothing but career politicians. That's why we need term limits. You know, this term limit referendum that Moranti's going around with, he has to get, I think, 5,000 signatures, right? I'm sure you want to get more than 5,000. It's like the petitions to get on the ballot. But there's a time frame. And then that has to be turned into the city clerk's office, Vinny Spano. And I hear that Vinny Spano in the city of Yonkers is going to be hiring a company to do the review of the signatures. It's not going to be done directly by the city. So that's going to cost the city money. And once that's done, if the signatures are all legit, the process may go beyond the time that, the deadline that Moranti has. I'm not sure if Moranti has actually collected all 5,000 signatures, but he did say he would be turning them in soon. So I don't know what's going on there, but is it really, worth the effort? Is this a serious effort by Moranti, or is this just for show, right? This is what I'm being told. Oh, it's just for show. Moranti's just doing this to say, hey, look, right? Because, I mean, if he's not going to be able to get it in time, it's just going to cost the city more money and it's not going to actually happen, then what's the point? And why not bring it back to 2 terms instead of 3, right? Why didn't he do 2 terms where it was originally, which is what the people voted on, right? So is that just for show? Is that just all about, trying to look, present a certain, perception for the general elections coming up where he will be facing Mike Spano? Leave John alone. He got enough issues. John Rubo's got enough issues, but this is what I talk about here in the podcast, right? We all got a lot of issues, actually, right? We all got enough. We all got more than we want. Most campaigns file late, not a big deal. The question is, who are the donors? And the question is, what is that perfect solution? Did he ever report the money he paid for the lawyers? He paid for his former employee, now COE employee, to go after Abdul. That's, the freelance masseuse. I forgot what his name was again. I forget. The lawyers under oath said his campaign paid then. Bingo. Another waste of tax dollars. Yeah. So I don't know if that whole thing, but, there's going to be a plan for that. I mean, this is a game. And like I said, it's a game. The current administration plays a game well. They've been doing it for a long time. They're a well-oiled machine. If you want change, if you truly care about the issues, then you have to come out and be vocal, and you have to come out and vote, right? Many people have not. Many people didn't come out to vote. Look at the numbers. There are 68,000 registered Democrats. Let's say half of those are active, right? And you get what? Just over 10,000. How many vote total votes? How many people came out? Just over 10,000. I mean, that you're not going to get change like that, So, it's like basically like most of the people are like, listen, that's politics. I'm not involved in that. I just get up, I go to work, I do my thing, right? And that's it. And then those that are involved, those that are in the know, those that follow politics are the ones that come out to vote, are the ones that, that speak on it, right? So, I mean, we have to come out to vote. You have to also be out there. You have to be vocal. You have to come out to rally. You have to support other candidates, right? You have to be willing to volunteer your time to do this if you want change. So that's what I was just talking about yesterday, because again, then what's the point, right? Everybody, for the most part, has an agenda. A lot of people have agendas, right? They have reasons why they want to see Mayor Spano out, outside of maybe the lack of funding for the schools, or the infrastructure, or the homeless situation, or whatever social issues we have here in Yonkers, right? People are upset because of issues they may have with their business, right? Or they were involved in politics, or so, or whatever, one reason or another, they just dislike the Spanos. But it's not a reason enough for them to come out and really rally. And I've been asking people, you want to make change, we got to come out and rally, right? You got to come out. We have to be vocal. We have to be consistent. You have to come out to the meetings. We have to encourage people to vote. Share the podcast so that other people can see it, more people can see it. Hopefully more people will be willing to vote, right? That's how you create the change, right? That's what I was, speaking about yesterday, because it's such a poor turnout. So why would, anyone want to go out there and lead the charge if, when that person turns around and looks behind them, you have maybe two people, maybe, right? Every nationwide search for top-level commissioners always end up in a Yonkers backyard. Enough already. The mayor would not appoint until after the election. If it is a local person, that person will have to deliver the vote for the mayor in November. So what do we do? So what do you do about that, Joan? How do you right, assure that it's done differently, that this doesn't happen, right? That the next or the top level commissioners are ending up in the backyards, as you say, right? How does the people, prevent that, right? How do we do something about it, right? How do you do something about it, right? So essentially you're saying that whoever they hire as a top level commissioner, they join the crowd, or they're a part of the in crowd. So you see them at the events, that they see them at the backyard gatherings, right? And so their only concern is delivering for the administration, right? So how do you stop that? How do you get top level commissioners in there that are in there to do the job, that are not about politics, that are not going to be in the backyard of Wilson Torrero's house or John Cater's, right? How? You have to come out. The people have to be vocal, be at the meeting, be in their faces, let them know we're on top of you guys and we're going to demand different. But if that's not done, nothing's going to happen. So just play the game. Play the game. Play the game. So again, folks, I just wanted to talk about that really quick. Yesterday, I mentioned the missing person, 15-year-old Edwin Valerio, went missing, now going on 6 days. What makes this scary is that the young man, the young boy, disappeared at 3 a.m. When his parents woke up, he was not in his bed. They saw the surveillance cameras from their home. They can see him leaving the home. After that, city cameras pick him up and follow him down to South Broadway from the Park Hill section of the city, where they lose him. The parents had no idea where their son had gone. The mom receives a phone call from an unlisted or a private number, and it's a young boy saying, "Mom, I'm scared. Mom, I'm scared." Then the phone goes dead. Still having no clue where he might be, the mom and the parents frantically try to search through his social media accounts, finding that they all have gone private. Some have been deleted. But before they could, before they lost access to the TikTok account, they saw that it had pinged one last time in Virginia. Initially, cops just ruled it a runaway. They were treating it as a teenager who ran away from home, who's going to be back when he gets hungry. And so for the first 4 days, that's the attitude they had, until they saw that his TikTok account had pinged in Virginia. His PlayStation is also gone, yet someone has been logging on and playing using his PlayStation account. So now that the police are a bit more concerned because he may be out of the state, they have reached out to the FBI, to the cell phone company that services his phone, which is now shut off. And they've also reached out to PlayStation to try to get a location on where that account is being logged into or being played from. This is very scary. This is a 15-year-old Yonkers boy. Initially, again, for the first few days, parents had no idea where could he go, where could he have gone. And then friends of his finally told the mom that he had been talking to a girl online. But is it or was it really a girl that he was talking to, or was it someone who was trying to lure him away from his family? According to the friends who finally spoke out and fessed up to the information they knew, he met this girl. He had been speaking to her for several months and then decided to move with her out of state. The girl, according to the mom, lived with her brother somewhere out of state, possibly Virginia. And that's where he was headed. However, he's not been heard from since. This is very scary. Parents, make sure you know who your children are talking to online. There are people who go on there who create fake accounts, pretend to be a young boy, young girl, to engage young children, develop a bond, a friendship, trust, and then lure them away from their families. This is not something that is unusual or unique, unfortunately, but to happen here in the city of Yonkers, close to home, is very scary. That's TikTok, Instagram, Snapchat, Facebook, all these apps. They're very dangerous. And so that's where, all the information I have, that's where it's at so far. Again, the family is very frantic and trying to find out where 15-year-old Edwin Valerio has gone. Who picked him up from New York? How did he get to Virginia if that's in fact where he is at? Why isn't he contacting his family? Why is his phone off? Why have some of his social media accounts been deleted and others gone private? Would some girl just want him to cut all contact with his family? According to the mom, there was no fights. There was no reason that he would just want to run off and never speak to his family again. Nothing other than normal teenage stuff that moms and parents go through with their kids, but no history of running away. This is very scary. And so I'm hoping that there is some, positive resolution to this. So, I posted up the picture of the young boy in the story. So please share that. Again, his name is Edwin Valerio, 15-year-old. He went off to meet someone he met online. Has not been heard from since. 6 days now. Very scary. Nothing will change unless people vote. That's right. You addressed that issue months prior to the primary elections, but nothing changed. I really don't know what is wrong with the people. People are, we're creatures of habits. I mean, Mike Spano, the name is like, Nike here in the city of Yonkers, right? It's a brand. It's a brand, and most people are not aware or fully educated on what's going on here in politics. So when they do go to vote, if they go to vote, they see Spano, they're going to go with Spano. Or maybe they just like Spano. Maybe people really like Spano, right? For one reason or another. I don't know. Maybe people just don't care, right? People don't believe their vote's going to matter. At the end of the day, their lives are still hard. I still can't find a job. I still can't afford the rent. There's still no resources for my kids. I busting my tires out every day on these potholes, right? So, people are just jaded and disenfranchised and, disassociated, I guess, with the whole process. We are struggling with the overturn of term limits appointments by a strong mayor and weak city council, struggling BOE with inflated money and no accountability. Why is there a weak, city council? Right? We this is why, and John says don't talk about community people, but some of the individuals, like, and I mentioned Chris Johnson, he helped Lakeisha win. Keisha Skipper, vice president of NAACP, who was once supporting Cater, decided to support Lakeisha, helped her win. She introduced the term limit extension legislation. And now here we are. And then you have the Mexican Chamber of Commerce. They go and write a letter to the city council. They want to see term limits extended. According to an email I got, they were extorted or strong-armed into that. They were given a choice, either pay the $30,000 bill that they raked up for the Mexican Independence Festival or write this letter, according to an email I got. And so that's what they did. So we have to hold these people accountable also. You have to say, hey, Keisha Skipper, and make it, no, and I'm not just giving, hey, Chris Johnson, hey, Mexican Chamber of Commerce. You guys are impacting the larger, group here, and so when it comes to the Mexican Chamber of Commerce, right, that's what Lakeisha hang their hat on. Oh, we got people who wanted this to be introduced, who wanted to have the opportunity to vote for the mayor again. That's what they said. That's what she said, based on these letters and this letter. So you have to call it out. So that way, moving forward, people think twice. They're going to call us out if I do this, if I make this move. You could tell the city, the Mexican Chamber of Commerce, they just do what they have to do. Again, it's all about business at the end of the day. Right. So we have to, that's why I mentioned those people, John, because you have to, you have to factor that in. You just, right. Because that's what they say. Even our county legislators are bought, as two of them have city jobs with, which bust their silence. And maybe that's something that the voters, constituents ought to, speak out about and push their council members. You got to push your council members, and you have to be consistent. Say, hey, maybe it shouldn't be okay for an elected official to also be a city employee, or for an elected official to get voted in and then get a city job. Maybe you have to wait, right? If you were employed already, and then you decide I want to run for office because, as a resident, as someone who works here in the city of Yonkers, works for the city, I see things wrong and I want to do something. Okay, cool. And then at that point, maybe you have to give up your position working within the city, right? But it should definitely not be okay to become elected, get elected, and then you get a job, especially so soon after you get elected, right? A job that many people have been wanting and waiting to get. Right? It looks bad. I mean, and come on. I mean, we could play the pretend game. No, yeah, it was all legit, right? Cool. All right. Whatever. Doesn't matter to me, really, right? But it matters to us as a whole. So we should care about it. But most people just, we just play the game. Oh, yeah, right. It was all legit, right? And then we whisper, yo, that's messed up. We have to just confront it. Be in your face. Yo, that's not okay. We know what happened there. That's kind of what I do, and I upset people a lot, but it brings attention to it, right? That's why Shanae Williams at one time went and called Rue Rose right away to get him to do that. What is that called? She had him do the cleanup. When I busted her over there, not working, collecting taxpayer money, funneling money to her new boo, right? I caught her over there. She does nothing. And the fact that she beat Chris Johnson. But, I mean, this is another thing. If you're an amazing elected official and you get to know your community and you're out there and you're doing things, it doesn't matter, right? Who runs against you. Then your community, your constituents know you. They built a strong relationship with you, and they're not going to, let you down. They're going to vote for you. But too many of you folks, a lot of you elected officials are not in your communities. You're not engaging your constituents only when you want them to vote for you. So you have a weak position ultimately, right? And many of your positions are based on the person who's behind you assuring that you get that win. But it's not because the voters are holding you up into that position. And so just like they placed you there, they can knock you off. And that's what happened. Essentially, they helped Chris Johnson get to that position. And now they wanted him out, and they helped Shanae. And when they're done with her, they'll help the next person, and she'll be done. Because their positions will never be strong because they don't build strong relationships with their constituents, right? See, that's the smart thing to do, right? Had I ran for a county legislator like they wanted me to, right? They wanted me to take out Chris, right? They would have supported me. That's what they wanted. I'm not a fucking horse. You know what I'm saying? I'm just not. You know what I mean? I'm the guy riding the horse, So I didn't do it. But, I like to get information. So I went along with it for a little bit. And that's how I know about, what's her name? TJ, whatever, the commissioner of the Board of Elections. I know about her and her relationship. But that's neither here nor there, right? So I would have won. And knowing that I got here because of them, because it would have been that very reason. I'm not going to fool myself, Sure, I may have an ego, but, I'm not stupid, right? And I know that if I would have won, it would have been largely in part to this machine that put me here, that said, hey, you'll be great. Why don't you run for District 16 there? We don't like Chris Johnson. It's becoming more Hispanic. You got a great last name. You present well. You got a great story. Go and get you an extra $80,000 a year. Right? And I would have done that. And then I would have gotten to know my constituents. I would have locked it down. So the day that they get tired of me, which would have been really quick, right? Would have been very fast. My voters, my constituents were sure that I would get reelected over anyone they try to put up against me. But you guys don't do your jobs. You take the easy way, right? Just keeping it honest. Guys don't do a real banging job. Essentially, you suck. You do. I'm sorry. It's just the truth. Right? Let's be honest. Be honest. Did they get specific location with Virginia? No, it wasn't a specific location. Pings can sometimes give you an actual address. Yeah, no, this was I guess just maybe the state of Virginia, because I asked that question. It's scary, it's a scary thing. And I think because of this situation and the fact, the details involved, the fact that met someone online who, said they were a young girl, but may not be, right? They could have been pretending and use that to lure him away. They need to be up on this, like, yo, let's, because this is a big deal. This is really a huge thing. This is literally like a fishing, kidnapping, kids. It's crazy. So, yeah. But anyway, folks, I'm Freddie Vasquez. It's 58 minutes and 21 seconds. Thank you for watching. This is Basement Politics, where I give you the truth. The truth lives, corruption dies, right? So I'm just being honest, folks. Listen, you got to do what you got to do. Learn to play the game, right? Learn to play the game well. You want to make change. You have to be, fierce. You have to be fearless. You have to be willing to go out there and be vocal and be consistent. And you have to get people. You have to build a big enough group of people that will go out there. Otherwise, it's just not going to happen. Those that dominate are going to continue to dominate. Right? It is what it is. So that's just what it is. Guys didn't come out to vote. This episode is brought to you by Sunny D. Tangy Original. The problem is they play chess and we're playing Battleship. Well, I play chess. Okay, I play chess. Battleship, I do that too sometimes, but it's not just that though. It's I mean, it's hard for you, even if you're playing chess, it's hard for you to beat someone if you're just not as good, right? If you're not a good chess, if you're not as good of a chess player, right? So you could be playing the same game, but you have to be informed. You have to have the information. You have to learn what's going on. You have to know who the players are. You have to understand that a lot of these individuals have been in politics for many, many years. They have relationships that go back for years, years, years. So, for a lot of us, we don't have all the information. So it's hard to, see some things sometimes, because we don't. So you don't fault yourselves. Don't say that we're not, we're not on the same page or we're playing a different game. They're playing chess. Absolutely. But this is their business, right? This is what they do 24/7. For the rest of us is not, right? It's really not. But we only really have one play. And that's the only play we need. Vote. That's it. It's that simple. If more people come out to vote, there you go. You don't even have to come out to rally. You don't even have to be publicly vocal. Just come out to vote. That's the only play you need, right? But unfortunately, that's the problem. The fact pattern definitely spells out a possible abduction. Yeah, it's crazy, man. I don't want to say that, but that's the conclusion I come to. I can help this kid's mother understand how these things are supposed to work, and I'd be happy to. I'll give you her information. She's put her information out there publicly if you want to reach out. Any help that anyone can get, if anyone knows how to get into, social media accounts, if you could get into a phone that has a password, fix a screen also on a cracked iPad. They're in need of that. So if you know somebody or you're somebody, please reach out so you can help, because they're trying to get into, the devices and the different accounts and stuff. So anyone who's tech savvy, who has that skills, that ability, please reach out, and also you have law enforcement, expertise there. This is scary. And we need to be talking more about this. Why isn't this on the news? Why is it, News 12 and everyone else, ABC News talking about the potential, of kids being kidnapped on these social media accounts, through fake accounts, through people, you get a young boy, right? Right. It's not like back in the day, man. We didn't have this stuff. When you're young, you have to go out, you have to actually meet, who you see. You see the person, you're there, we're outside. Nowadays, you create an account, you can steal pictures from other people, right? You see the whole catfish thing. And so now you got a young boy that's, maybe not doing too well with the girls in school or in his neighborhood or whatever. And he meets someone that's giving him attention online, or a girl, she meets a boy or someone she thinks is a boy who's starting to give her attention to, and not to say that this is the case, but even sometimes when parents are not always engaged with their children and they're seeking someone, they're seeking attention, it's very easy for these predators who have mastered this, right, to lock into a child, gain their trust, make them feel good, make them feel special. Tell them all the nice things that no one has been telling them that they wish people would. And they get into their heads. And this is what happens. And I know I had a cousin that she didn't get kidnapped, but she got into, this guy, because she wasn't getting a lot of attention, right? And then, the guy, I don't know, he got some money from her and then he was done. And then, some other girl came on and gave her attention. So then she became gay, right? And then she started being gay all of a sudden. And then she had an issue with her and then found on the PlayStation, they're talking over the headset. This is how they're meeting these days. And then she wasn't gay again. So there's so much mental and emotional stuff going on. And I can get into the whole transgender thing and why kids feel, like this is not who I am. I don't feel like myself. There's so much stimulation, so much stimuli all day long. Devices in kids' hands, all kinds of pages and videos and music, and the access that kids have, it's damaging to the brain that's developing, the emotions that are developing. It's bad. And at the end of the day, we really should just all fight to end the social media and internet stuff. We really should. As a human race, as a society, we don't need it. It's purely evil. It doesn't benefit us. It doesn't bring any good to our society. It doesn't help with hunger, doesn't help with homelessness, doesn't help with poverty, doesn't help with violence. It doesn't help at all. But in fact, it has increased all of the things I just mentioned there, has driven us to a mass psychosis. We're being mass traumatized. And I think that there is a plan to do this. So that's my opinion on social media. And yes, I'm guilty of using it, but it's not good. So, folks, I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics. I appreciate you. Thank you for sharing. Thank you for watching. And listen, I'll be honest. You might hear Freddie Vasquez was in the gym with a gentleman by the name of Vincent Spano. Yeah, I went to, is it Equalizer? I was gonna fight this guy, man. Today I went to Equalizer today. Asked all the people that were there. Yeah, I'm not playing.
Ready.
My dad, Freddie Vasquez.
You're watching Basement Politics with my dad, Freddie Vasquez.
Ready wins. Fatality.
I'm Freddie Vasquez. This is Basement Politics Unfiltered. I'm getting a little bigger. When I feel confident, I'm going to do a podcast with my shirt off. I'm gonna show. Take your shirt off. Think about you, Anthony. Take your shirt off. Right, but no, I'm actually getting into shape. So, I mean, hopefully by the end of the summer, you're gonna see a difference. It's my goal, and then I'll be ready for anyone who wants to challenge me in any kind of charity boxing match. And I'm still waiting for you, Alberto. You know that was a cop out, Alberto. That was a cop out. What you did, you set that whole thing up to create this scene to make me look bad, and then to forget about the fact that we were supposed to do it for charity and for real, so you wouldn't actually have to fight me. That was a cop-out. You chickened out, Alberto. But have fun with Ruros in Puerto Rico. All right, you two. Stay away from the parks. Hope this boy's teacher and classmates have been interviewed to see if there's any red flags. I'm sure. No shirt off, Freddie. No, I know. What do you mean? Are you saying like not to fight, or because you're saying I got a bird chest? You saying listen, I don't care. I'm skinny. I know I am, but I'm still confident in who I am. So I don't, I'm just doing it because I want to, as I get older, I think it's important to really just exercise and work out. And then I want to kick Alberto's ass, the CCA president. I'm going to kick your ass, in the right way, not a street brawl, not charity, boxing. I'm going to kick your ass, Alberto. I'm still waiting. I'm here. I'm ready. Well, give me to the end of the summer. I'll be ready. So that's why I'm working out, right? We're not going to fight in front of the mayor, Alberto, okay?
Ready wins.
That's low class.
Fatality.
You have more class than that, Alberto. Anyway, you two have fun in Puerto Rico. It's so funny that you two are hanging out together. I mean, birds of a feather flock together. I'm just saying. Folks, let me ask you, if someone sold me information about you, things that you didn't want nobody to know, damaging stuff, would you go in Puerto Rico with that person and hang out with them? Would they still be your friend?
Ready wins.
That'd be my friend.
Fatality.
Thank you for watching Basement Politics with my husband, Freddie Vasquez.
That's right.
Ready
My
wins.
girl, my wife. Thank you for all those who reached out to her. She's good. She's great. She's always going to be good. We're always going to be great. We are. You can't hurt me. You can't hurt me. And I don't mean because of material things. You can't take what's inside. You can never hurt me.
Ready wins. Fatality.
I'm going to be all right.
Ready wins.
Shout out to everybody. Much love. Have a beautiful and safe weekend. Yeah? Well, listen, I'm waiting for Alberto to follow up on the challenge that he he challenged me. Right? I challenged Ruros, and then he challenged me, and I accepted, and I haven't heard anything from him. But I'm working out.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
Shout out to all the people at Equalizer. Looking for a gym. There you go.
Freddie wins.
I think some of you watch the podcast because when I'm in there, I see some people looking at me. I hope it's a good thing. Have a beautiful night.
Freddie wins. Fatality.
No! Say hello.